Welcome, Shadow Seekers, to American Shadows, Crimes and Chronicles. Today, we're unearthing a tale that'll haunt your thoughts long after it ends. Whether you're glued to the screen or just listening in, you're in for a wild ride through history's darkest corners. If you're new, hit subscribe to join our mission of exposing America's hidden truths. Regulars, your likes fuel our journey into the unknown. Now, let's peel back the layers of time and reveal the secrets beneath. Ready? Let's begin. The lynching that shook America, Leo Frank's tragic tale. Hello, friends. You're watching American Shadows, where we delve into the most gripping, unsettling, and sometimes forgotten corners of American history. Today, we're going back to August 17th, 1915, a day that marked one of the most tragic and controversial events in American legal history, the lynching of Leo Frank. What transforms a peaceful Georgia town into the stage for a brutal act of vigilante justice? How does a murder trial become a lightning rod for the nation's deepest prejudices? And why does the name Leo Frank continue to echo through the halls of American justice more than a century later? Before we unravel this complex and troubling chapter in American history, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you who support our work. Your engagement fuels our passion for storytelling, and we're truly grateful for each and every one of you. As we explore this powerful story, we'd love to hear from you. Have you encountered instances of prejudice or injustice in your community's history? How do you think events like the Leo Frank case have shaped America's approach to civil rights? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Our story begins on April 26, 1913, in Atlanta, Georgia. The city, still nursing the wounds of the Civil War, was a powder keg of racial and religious tensions. On that fateful day, the body of 13-year-old Mary Fagan was discovered in the basement of the National Pencil Company. Mary, a child of the New South, had worked long hours at the factory for mere pennies a day. Her murder not only shocked Atlanta, but became a symbol of the perceived dangers facing working-class women in the industrializing South. The city erupted in outrage, demanding swift justice. Enter Leo Frank, the factory's superintendent. A Jewish man from New York, Frank quickly became the prime suspect. The media played a crucial role in shaping public opinion. William Randolph Hearst's Georgian and the Atlanta Constitution competed for readers with sensationalist headlines and lurid details, often playing on existing prejudices. Police Have the Strangler blared one newspaper, setting the stage for a trial that would expose the raw nerves of a nation grappling with issues of race, religion, and justice. Frank's trial was a spectacle that would make a mockery of justice. In the sweltering heat of the Atlanta summer, crowds outside the courthouse chanted, "Hang the Jew." Inside, the atmosphere was no less hostile. The prosecution's case hinged on the testimony of Jim Conley, an African-American janitor with a criminal record. Conley's story was riddled with inconsistencies, changing several times before and during the trial. Yet, in a twist that laid bare the complex racial dynamics of the South, Conley's word was taken over that of a white man, but only because that white man was Jewish. Despite the flimsy evidence, Frank was convicted and sentenced to death. As he stood before the judge, Frank declared, "I am innocent of this charge. The whole case is extraordinary, but not nearly as extraordinary as the events which have followed the trial." Little did he know how prophetic these words would prove. The case caught national attention. The New York Times alone published over 100 articles on the trial, many questioning its fairness. As appeals dragged on, tensions continued to simmer in Georgia. Tom Watson, a former populist turned ardent racist and anti-Semite, used his influential magazine, The Jeffersonian, to whip up hatred against Frank. How much longer will the people of Georgia stand the Jewish millionaires from New York working to save this Jewish murderer from justice? He wrote, conflating anti-Semitism with populist resentment against northern industrialists. In a surprising turn of events, Governor John M. Slayton commuted Frank's sentence to life imprisonment in June 1915. Slayton had reviewed the evidence and harbored serious doubts about Frank's guilt. "I can endure misconstruction, abuse, and condemnation," Slayton said, "but I cannot stand the constant companionship of an accusing conscience." His decision would cost him his political career and force him to flee the state under armed guard. But for Frank, the governor's mercy would prove short-lived. On the night of August 16, 1915, a group calling themselves the Knights of Mary Fagan stormed the prison farm where Frank was being held. Among them were some of Marietta's most prominent citizens, businessmen, lawyers, even a former governor. They drove through the night, a grim caravan of justice perverted. As dawn broke on August 17th, they reached an oak tree just outside Marietta. There, they lynched Leo Frank. His last words, according to witnesses, were a plea of innocence. The lynching sent shockwaves through the nation. Photographs of Frank's body, hanging from the tree, were sold as souvenirs, a chilling reminder of the casualness with which such brutality was treated. President Woodrow Wilson privately expressed his horror, lamenting the government's impotence in the face of an aroused public. The aftermath of Frank's lynching would reshape American society in ways that continue to resonate today. In its wake, the Anti-Defamation League was founded, dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism and all forms of bigotry. The case also sparked a resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan, which saw the lynching as a victory for white supremacy. The Frank case had a profound impact on the Jewish community. Many Jews in Georgia and across the South felt compelled to keep a low profile in its aftermath, fearing further anti-Semitic backlash. Conversely, it galvanized Jewish communities in the North to become more active in civil rights causes. The legacy of the Leo Frank case extended far beyond its immediate aftermath. It became a rallying point for early civil rights activists, who saw in Frank's treatment a stark example of how prejudice could pervert the course of justice. The case influenced later debates about the death penalty and the importance of due process. The Frank case left an indelible mark on American culture. It inspired novels, plays, and even a mini-series. Each retelling grappled with the complex issues of prejudice, justice, and the power of mob mentality that the case embodied. It would take over 70 years for the state of Georgia to officially acknowledge the injustice done to Leo Frank. In 1986, the Georgia Board of Pardons and Paroles issued a posthumous pardon, stating that the state had failed to protect Frank and had therefore denied him his right to further appeals. It was a long overdue recognition of a grave miscarriage of justice. In recent years, the Leo Frank case has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and academic studies. It continues to be taught in law schools as a cautionary tale about the dangers of prejudice in the justice system. In 2019, on the 104th anniversary of the lynching, a historical marker was erected near the site where Frank was killed, ensuring that this dark chapter of history will not be forgotten. As we reflect on the Leo Frank case, we're confronted with uncomfortable questions that still resonate today. How do we ensure that justice remains blind to prejudice? How do we balance the court of law with the court of public opinion? And how do we reckon with the dark chapters of our history while striving for a more just future? The story of Leo Frank is more than just a historical footnote. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of justice and the destructive power of prejudice. It challenges us to remain vigilant, to question our assumptions, and to stand up against injustice wherever we find it. This is American Shadows, where we peer into the darker corners of our nation's past and present. Until next time, remember that the echoes of history are all around us. The shadows cast by that terrible day in 1915 are long indeed, and in understanding them, we gain the wisdom to shape a more just future. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep watching American Shadows.